Hello everybody, welcome back for another video. I hope that you are all doing well and that you are all having a great day. First things first, keep in mind for this article that I'm about to read through, these are not my words. I'm reading the words of someone else, so do not attack me, please. The point of me reading this is I try to highlight, I firmly believe that when things happen in not even just the crypto world, but in the traditional world of finance. And when people are talking about things and depending on where they are talking about them, it holds a bit of significance. And I will try to explain at the very end because I think maybe, hopefully, you'll kind of get what I am hinting at more so. So, during a discussion with Modern Wall Street, well-known influencers spoke about the gold market and its correlation with cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin. The key speakers were Jim Rickards, author of The Death of Money, Stephen Guilfoyle, the founder of Sarga 986 LLC, and economists Douglas Borthwick and David Williams. The discussion began with the four speaking about the gold market in all the major countries such as China and Russia, slowly shifting from the US dollar to gold. They further spoke about about SWIFT being one of the main catalysts behind nations opting for gold and probably cryptocurrencies because its increasing dominance of the US dollar. However, Douglas Borthwick stood against the concept of Bitcoin and stated that the people who are involved in Bitcoin clearly do not understand the mechanism of the macro environment. He said, and I quote, "I think that the holders of crypto or the holders of Bitcoin really have very little understanding of what's going on in macro environment. They're buying it because they see that's the future for technology as opposed to folks buying and selling buying and selling gold to do that because they see this future of macroeconomics," end quote. They were further asked by Stephen Guilfoyle about Bitcoin being viewed as the new gold by the majority of young investors. To this, Jim Rickards said that there are an approximate 1,600 cryptocurrencies. As of now, we have around 1,900, which are listed on major exchanges, among which some of them are small and some of them are fraud. However, he stated that Bitcoin is the biggest among them and that it is only used by tax evaders and terrorists. He said, "It'll get to $200 a coin, which is kind of residual criminal value, but all this stuff about, $6,000, that's all nonsense," end quote. Jim Rickards stated that the dollar is a digital currency as a whole. Fedwire system is digital and the message traffic is encrypted. However, the only factor that makes cryptocurrency is the technology behind it, which is absent with the dollar, digital distributed ledger, blockchain technology. He further stated that the technology, along with some currencies, has a future. However, he stated that Bitcoin is a dead end and that it is not scalable and sustainable. They further added that it was the biggest bubble in history in comparison to the Dutch tulip bubble, which we've heard thousands of times. That is constantly the argument as to why the price of Bitcoin is so high. David Williams stated that cryptocurrencies are transactional, but he does not see that transactional value in Bitcoin. He further said that cryptocurrencies can be attacked by the government and also shut down if there is no use case, like that of the dollar. However, people cannot use Bitcoin as there is no stability in the transactional price. However, Douglas Borthwick had a positive perspective on Ripple and the XRP currency, although he mistakenly referred to both of them as Ripple as he was talking. He said, "There are some cryptos that are working with regulators. Ripple would be an example. I can imagine in the next 5 years, instead of doing sterling against the dollar or sterling against the yen, I can see these transfer transactions with sterling versus Ripple." He continued saying, the reason being the dollar right now is a 2-day settlement. With something like Ripple, you get settlement in seconds. I think there's a future where the guy that's trading in spot FX today will be trading spot FX against Ripple in the next 2 or 3 years. So I think Ripple has a great future right now because it is supported by all the banks and all the regulators, end quote. Without having to read any further, when I saw this, like I said, everything has a deeper meaning, depending on where you're talking, who you're talking to, who your panelists are, and the things that they have to say about certain things. A lot of people, this was around, it had to be 2000, I want to say 2014, before we actually had the thing in New York City. There's like I think it's called the bit something, like the bit law. I can't remember. I always forget the name of it. Anyway, it's like a law that you need to follow or that you need to sign up to and have paperwork and blah, blah, blah. If you are in New York in order to be able to transact in cryptocurrencies, or if you are like a money transmitting service, this is kind of what they call it. And at the end, it was like a 2-hour meeting. The Winklevoss twins were there. A whole bunch of other regulators were on the stage. And midway through the entire time, the Winklevoss twins kept on trying to, instead of referring to cryptocurrencies, they kept on just referring to Bitcoin. We believe that Bitcoin does this. We think that Bitcoin does this. We don't own Bitcoin, as in like they didn't create it. But we are willing to work with regulators over and over. And at the very end of this discussion, when the entire thing was finally over, I think Ben Bernanke, I think that's his name, he was one of the head regulators in New York City. At the very end of it, he stood up as everyone was like getting ready to leave, and he spoke into the mic and he said, this all sounds great, but I think everyone should definitely look into Ripple. And that was like, bam, gavel down. That was the end of the entire thing, and everyone was moving on. And I think I spoke to a friend, this was obviously years ago, and I was like, it's really weird that the entire discussion, the entire meeting was about cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin and allowing Bitcoin in New York City and allowing this and so, and finding some type of a framework or paperwork that people would have to follow. And at the very end, he just randomly threw in Ripple. And I was like, that had to be like, it was far too random. The things that I've been hearing the last couple of weeks, there have been a lot of shots taken at Bitcoin. I don't have one of the stories in this video. I'm sorry. People have been discussing the flaws in Bitcoin a lot more recently. And once again, this is another shift. I don't know what happened, and I mean this honestly. I don't know what shift there was, but you've noticed over the last couple of weeks, there's been a shift against Ethereum and a shift against Bitcoin and Ethereum. And this wasn't happening before until we started getting news that XRapid could potentially be launched within the next month. And I think it's all too coincidental that this is all happening at the exact same time. Like I said, when you may not think that things like this are significant, or you may think, oh, whatever, this is just some random guy saying it on a stage. But you have to understand that he's saying this to potentially, at any given moment, maybe hundreds or thousands of people who are sitting in the audience listening to him. And these people aren't there because they like cryptocurrencies. These people are there because they want to hear about the new financial environment. And when they hear someone say something like this about a cryptocurrency, they say, oh, this is a scam, this is a so-and-so, this is a tulip bubble. But there's another coin called Ripple, and they start talking about it in this way. I think something is happening. I don't know if it's happening behind the scenes. I don't know what exactly is. This isn't me saying that Bitcoin's going to die or Bitcoin's going to go away. But pay attention to when people say things like this and who they're talking to, who it's directed towards, especially when you listen to, I told you guys before, whenever a major news outlet, I know a lot of people, when they hear news outlets talking about coins, they think it's time to then short or like bet against the coin because, if they're clearly just trying to pump it. But they say a lot of things on these news networks and stuff like that, and they're not geared towards normal people. Like none of this discussion was geared towards people who make like 15,000 a year. Excuse me for saying that, but it's the honest truth. Like these are geared towards certain people who make a certain amount of money. And when I read this and when I was reading through it, I was like, something's very interesting in that entire statement. I just thought it was interesting. I thought I had to read through it. So yeah, my entire thing is that I've seen stuff like this before, and you may have, like, even like the last 4, 5, 6 months, we barely had any news about Ripple. Like we had some stuff about like what could be an update. We had Brad Garlinghouse going on television talking about, oh, we're not afraid of regulators. Oh, we always work with regulators. And the one coin, like I told you guys many times before, I don't know if anyone gets it yet. When I talk about the future of cryptocurrencies and what's going to be accepted, I said, pay attention to what's happening to privacy coins, because multiple governments called out privacy coins by name. They didn't say, oh, we don't care for Bitcoin pseudo-anonymity. They said, we don't like Dash, we don't like Zcash, and we don't like Monero. Don't list these on your exchanges. And I was like, that's a red flag. And then when you have a whole bunch of people talking about that the Ripple team has been working with regulators, they have people from the SEC on their team, they have people from who make the laws in America on their team as well. They have speakers from the IMF, the International Monetary Fund, talking at their events for Swell, which is I think October 3rd. There's more to all of this than I think maybe people want to pay attention to. I don't know what's happening. I don't know exactly what's going on. I really wish I had more information. I think that would be nice. But I'm going to, whatever. Just pay attention to when things like this happen, because it's usually a clear indication. If someone's constantly telling you over and over and they're like, criminals, But there's a crypto out there that's not for criminals. You know, they're working with regulators and they're doing so and so. And I don't know. It's all leading up to something. And I can only assume that we're going to figure out exactly what it's leading up to in the next couple of months. Anyway, let us move on. Next up, representatives from US-based financial giants and cryptocurrency startups will meet with Washington lawmakers this Tuesday, I guess that is today, to discuss the regulatory landscape. This was said by CNBC. The roundtable, dubbed Legislating Certainty for Cryptocurrencies, will reportedly be hosted by Representative Warren Davidson. The attendees will address the issue of policy making regarding the new asset class in the run-up to introduction of the bill in the House of Representatives by Davidson this fall. In a letter to participants, Davidson reportedly pointed out 8 questions for the meeting, saying that your input is critical to help us preempt a heavy-handed regulatory approach that could stall innovation and kill the United States' ICO market. Along with those issues, which include the problem of protecting customers from fraud, regulators plan to cover private funding disclosures and token issuance laws. Among the invitees, representatives from Fidelity, the NASDAQ, the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, cryptocurrency startups Ripple, Coinbase, and Circle have reportedly confirmed attendance. The opening remarks will be given by Reps Ted Budd, Tom Emmer, French Hill, and Darren Soto. Without reading any further, it seems like something is finally happening when it comes to like regulations and stuff like that. I think things are slowly moving forward. I'm glad to hear, like I always mention, that we at least have a couple of people who are in the cryptocurrency space who are going to be hopefully rightfully representing us, as it were, giving information as to what's going to happen in the cryptocurrency space. But how much clearer does it get when you have a meeting that's going to be happening with lawmakers? Coinbase is already there. I spoke about them before in my other video, and when I said that I don't think Coinbase is going anywhere. I think behind the scenes we just don't see it. But Coinbase is set. Whoever they're working with, they're constantly in every single meeting. People definitely know them. Representatives from Fidelity and NASDAQ and the U.S. Chamber of Commerce inside the same room as the people who are backing the Ripple company and the XRP token, clearly indicative of exactly what's going on. And once again, when you hear about events like this or meetings or gatherings, as it were, between the lawmakers or the people who are going to be making the laws that could influence the SEC or how the future of cryptocurrency develops, Ripple is always there. And I told people that before. I was talking to a couple of friends who don't really care for Ripple, what have you, and I was telling them, I said, you never see the team from Cardano there. You never see the core developers from Bitcoin there. You never see Vitalik there. You never see Charlie Lee at these meetings either. It's always the same people over and over. And the more you meet up with these people and the more you solidify everything that you do together, these people aren't just meeting up, shaking hands, signing a piece of paper and then leaving. They hang out after. They do other things. They fly in their private jets to their islands, whatever other rich people do. And this is, so I think we're hopefully getting close to something happening law-wise. I think this was definitely a very accurate sentence. I think that they realized, maybe they heard one of my videos. I don't understand what's going on because it doesn't take this long. And if the U.S. is typically the leader in everything, like the U.S. more or less, you may disagree, but the U.S. is the leader kind of the world because of monetary policies. They're letting this entire thing slip through their fingers because they're taking so long. Like, they could have had laws out in April that the rest of the world would have had to have followed. But now other countries are slowly giving us their laws. And now the U.S. is like trying to gallop as fast as possible to be able to catch up with everyone else. This is at least how I see it. Anyway, let's move on. Next up, Tyler and Cameron Winklevoss, creators of U.S.-based cryptocurrency trading platform Gemini, are looking to expand the platform to the United Kingdom market, sources told the Financial Times on the 24th of September. The Gemini Trust Company, founded in New York in 2014, is currently ranked the 58th largest crypto exchange globally by adjusted daily traded volume, according to CoinMarketCap. The Financial Times cites two unnamed, of course, insider sources as reporting that Gemini has now hired advisors to oversee its potential expansion into the United Kingdom. The firm itself is quoted on record by the Financial Times as saying that while Gemini has no immediate plans as such, they said, "We continue to explore potential jurisdictions around the world to provide a best-in-class digital asset exchange and custodian which will enable growth and infrastructure to the entire digital asset community," end quote. One source has further claimed that the firm is currently close to filing an application with the United Kingdom's market watchdog, the Financial Conduct Authority, or the FCA, to seek a green light for the move. I'm not surprised by this at all. We had news before that Coinbase, I think, was trying to expand into Japan. I haven't heard much news about them from doing the South Korea. I think they're also, if I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure Coinbase also has an office or something like that in the UK. So it was only logical that Gemini would also try and expand. Maybe they're doing more than I am paying attention to, but I feel like Gemini is always very cautious. Maybe it's the entire Facebook thing. Maybe they're trying to tread softly but still making their money on the side. I don't know. I feel like Gemini could definitely be a lot more aggressive. I don't know what they're really holding back for, especially when it comes to them listing other coins and stuff like that. From what I can hear and what I've heard, especially in the comment section, people always tell me that they don't mind Gemini, that apparently Gemini is actually a pretty good exchange, but they always seem to be doing things that everyone else has already done. Maybe they are just a lot more cautious than other people out there. I don't know. Anyway, next up, developers and companies researching blockchain technology are looking to the U.S. government to help spur adoption. This was reported by IBM. Written by Thomas Harjono, director of the MIT Trust Data Consortium, the report summarizes the results of a series of roundtable meetings held by the Congressional Blockchain Congress, a group of lawmakers in the United States Congress who advocate for the tech, in 2017 and 2018. The meetings were spearheaded by Representatives David Schweikat and Jared Polis and aimed to understand potential use cases for blockchain as well as accelerate use cases of the tech, according to the report. Specifically, the three meetings each had a different focus: digital identity, payments, and supply chain and provenance. The report explained that strong industry consensus exists around the belief that blockchain technology will be the leading edge of the next internet economy. I must have just had some sugar or something like that. I'm trying to slow down my voice so that I can actually get all the words in, but I start accelerating when I realize that I can pronounce the next word. Anyway, the report added, "It is imperative that government and industry work together to continue and strengthen technological and market leadership in this new area, and to address potential policy and regulatory incompatibility that may constrain growth of the emerging digital blockchain economy," end quote. As such, each meeting goals were to better explain use cases, find common interests, speed up the deployment of the technology, establish what might prevent adoption, and find components which may be used across businesses or industries. Without having to read much further, I think the U.S. gets it. I'm pretty sure they understand, and I'm glad to hear that things like this are happening. I'm still shocked that it has taken them this long. Maybe, like I said before, maybe everybody thought it was a fad. Maybe they just didn't think that cryptocurrencies was going to be as large, or blockchain, whatever, be as large as it is right now. But hopefully, fingers and toes crossed, that this is actually the beginning of not adoption, but the laws and stuff like that starting to finally come out. The fact that it's taken this long is an atrocity. But even when we hear other things like this, other meetings are happening and stuff, I'm pretty sure they're moving forward. It's just a matter of when we're going to finally get that, the stuff written in stone, and that'll, help the market hopefully move along. Last up, the French government is reportedly planning to provide a legal framework for all digital assets providers. This was said by local news agency leséchos.fr on the 21st of September. 3 members of President Emmanuel Macron's party, La République En Marche, have proposed an amendment to French legislation for regulating all service providers in the crypto industry, sources told leséchos.fr. The National Assembly is reportedly set to discuss the amendment by the end of September. The amendment, tabled by LREM MPs Valéria Faure-Montagne, Christian Hennion, and Eric Botrel, my gosh, has the aim of widening the existing legal framework in order to allow crypto market participants to receive approval from the main stock regulator in France, the Autorité des Marchés Financiers. This was said by Les Echos about the approval. They said, each actor will be free to ask for it, but it is clear that obtaining this license will be a guarantee of credibility and seriousness, end quote. Back in July, Jean-Pierre Landau, a government official and academic, released a report stating not to over-regulate cryptocurrencies. This was said by Cointelegraph as well. Hopefully, France gave us something a couple of days ago. I don't remember exactly what it was. France gave us some type of, not a law, but it was like that they planned on not doing something. I can't remember exactly what it was. There's so much news. I do apologize when I don't remember the 38,000 other things that I've been talking about. There's a lot happening right now. Oh gosh, what was it? It had to do something with the European Union tried to come together and say that they were going to eventually release news about a framework or something like that. But France ended up actually coming forward first and actually giving it to the people, what have you. So let's hope that this actually also continues going. I'm afraid of what France is going to do. They've been unfriendly friendly in the past to cryptocurrencies. They had high taxes before. I think it's a bit of a struggle inside of France to be able to deal in or buy or sell or trade cryptocurrencies. So let's hope they do something that is not that doesn't hamper innovation within the country, because I think that would be just be wrong, to put it lightly. Little side note, sorry for laughing as I was saying that. I was when I actually speak in French, I have a very different voice. And I was trying not to switch to my voice in French as I was reading through that. That's how I was laughing, because I was trying to read it as normally as I normal sound as possible. Whenever I speak in another language, I don't know if you speak multiple languages, you actually, this has been like done by scientists and stuff like that. You have like a different personality and stuff like that when you speak in these languages. And for some reason, when I speak in French, mine is like this like deep voiced, serious person. Anyway, that's what is completely off topic. The point is, that is definitely the news for today. Hope you all enjoyed. Hope you all are having a great day, morning, afternoon, and or evening, wherever you are, wherever you might be. Thank you once again for watching and or listening, and I will talk to you all soon. See you.